T.B.Photo X1.5 TFX, and welcome back to another video. Well, this is going to be a little bit of a new second segment on my channel, and I will like to call this Photo News, or rather some of them might be a little bit older news, but anyway, it's a little bit of news in photography for this week, or whatever we want to go, how often we're now going to go and do it. But anyway, I'm gonna take a little bit of news in photography that I've read and think it's a little bit interesting to bring up to you. But anyway, the first one is one of these things. If you ever heard of a contemporary artist named Damien Hirst, he is the guy that in the 1990s he did this. Yeah, it's the guy who put a shark in a tank of formaldehyde, and a couple of years ago I think it was auctioned off for, if memory serves correct, it was about $12 million. And this was also brought up in a Raw Talk with Jared Polin when he did an interview with Trey Ratcliffe senpai. But anyway, what actually happened was that what they talked about was how something can command such a premium, and it's so much more than it demands more than the sum of its parts. And I think we have a photo news equivalent of that today, and it's that the rangefinder camera manufacturer Leica recently announced their latest camera, the Leica M10. It's a digital rangefinder, which is Leica's bag, rangefinders. And this camera commands a premium of $6,595. In Swedish kroner, if you go to this internet bank or this bank service, Forex or Foreign Exchange, which it's an abbreviation of, it goes to about 61,800 Swedish kroner. And I think, what? How is this possible that this digital rangefinder can, demand such a premium? I mean, what was it? A 24 megapixel sensor? Maybe it sounds now like I'm ripping on this, but I'm not ripping on it. Maybe this is a great camera, but for the price, how can it command such over $6,500? That seems a little bit strange. So I just want to give you a couple of comparisons. If we take the same amount of money, about $6,600, what can that give me instead in the way of a camera? Well, for instance, if I go close to home, my camera that is filming this right now, the Nikon D7200, you can actually get 4.5 of them for the same price. They command about what now, $1,440 or 13,500 Swedish kroner. So you get 4.5 D7200s for the same price as one Leica M10. Okay, yes, it's an APS-C camera, but if we go to another APS-C camera that is a little bit more modern, or newer I should say, the Nikon D500, that one costs about $1,650 average, and that's 15,400 Swedish. You get 4 of those for one Leica M10. And if we go to Nikon's current flagship camera, the Nikon D5, which is basically a machine gun of a DSLR, that camera fetches, what is it, $3,600? I have it on my cheat sheet here. Oh, excuse me. I have it on my cheat sheet here because it's a little bit of a news that I wanted to go through, and I want to have it in a formal, organized fashion. But anyway, the D5, $3,600. You can get one of those and you still have change in your pocket. So get a rangefinder M10 that is basically made for, normal focus lengths. Yeah, 35 to about 85, that type of range. In otherwise it's a little bit strange maybe. But you can get a Nikon D5 for less money. Or rather, if you go with a Canon, you can get the Canon 5DS, the 50 megapixel monster from Canon, for about $3,600. So you can almost get 2 Canon 5DSs for one M10. And if we're gonna go a little bit above, I mean, You know, that's a small rangefinder camera. Okay, it's compact and so on, it fits in your pocket and so on. But if you are a professional working in a studio, you might want to have something like, say, I don't know, a Hasselblad. Like the current heavyweight champion from Hasselblad, it's the H5X. That camera commands $7,800 or 73,000 Swedish kroner. It's not that much of a difference between those two cameras price-wise. Yeah, it's almost $2,000, you know, $1,500 more expensive. But when you look at what you get for that money difference, I think it's kind of a no-brainer which camera you would choose. The Hasselblad, if you were wondering. But anyway, that's just, I get it. Leica has become a little bit of, in my opinion, a gimmick camera brand. It's like buying a vintage Rolex Submariner from the 1960s just because you can. That's the thing. Why would you buy a Leica M10? Well, because you can. That's basically it, in my opinion. So yeah, so that's a little bit of a camera news. But then other news, this is some old rumor that is still circulating around a bit. DJI, the guys who makes the DJI Phantom and some other nice drones and so on, there are rumors circling around that they have bought the majority stocks in Hasselblad. Anybody have an update on that story? So put a comment in the section below to see what's what about that story. Is it just rumors, or is it any truth to it? Excuse me. But anyway, let's move on. Well, if it was one company that you really need to feel sorry for last year, 2016, it must be GoPro. I mean, GoPro did have a rough year last year with their drones and so on, that they really tanked, more or less. So now in 2017, GoPro announced that they will try to make up ground again for the $373 million that they lost for the total recall of the drones that were faulty, that are falling out of the sky. Yeah, so that's a little bit of a GoPro. They plan to launch now their Heron 6 camera. That should be, they are betting that will be the savior for the company now. Also in other news, Rode, the Australian microphone company, has recently announced that they are making a 360-degree microphone for camera use. And I think this is actually fairly right in the times, because as you might see on social media and so on, it has become increasingly popular with 360-degree cameras. I mean, the technology of 360 video making and photography has basically skyrocketed in from 2016 and onwards. So yeah, it's an interesting time in technology, but you have to ask yourself the same question as Keith Richards said when the synthesizer came in the 70s. Is it a tool or is it a toy? Which category does it come into? But Rode has also recently celebrated their 50th anniversary, and I think they know what they're doing. So this new 360 microphone might be a really great little gizmo to have. And speaking of GoPro, it seems like the karma is back. It wasn't just instant karma and it crashed and burned, pun intended, but the karma is back, and GoPro thinks they have fixed the glitch in it. And it seemed to have been a problem with manufacture, because according to GoPro's own report, it was faulty battery latches that was the cause of the problem. The failure in flight that made the Karma just drop out of the sky seems to have been that the batteries vibrated loose because of the clasps, that kept the battery in place. It didn't work properly, and that meant that it was a total power loss to the rotors, and that basically made it so that the drone fell out of the sky. But it seems like that problem has been resolved now by GoPro, but anyway, it seems like the karma is back. Yeah, so that's a little bit of the news when it comes to camera gear and accessories, but now we go over to glass. Well, DxOMark recently announced that they're giving more or less a blue ribbon to the Sigma 80mm f1.4 art lens. Well, and this also happens to be the highest priced lens in Sigma's art lineup of lenses. It's selling for about, what is it, $1,199, so basically $1,200, which is about 11,200 Swedish kroner. But if you are in the market for what has become now known, 85mm, that's basically, from what you see on different YouTube sites, it seems to be the golden standard for a street photographer. So that they want something like a 85mm prime lens for street photography. So if you're heavy into street photography, maybe you should check this lens out. It might be something for you. Yeah, so, but anyway, that's the end of glass news, and here is something that I think is quite amazing. Earlier this year, Kodak introduced that they will be reintroducing Ektachrome. That's it, Ektachrome. The yellow and blue film, or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, it seems like they are not the only ones that are making a comeback. I mean, Bergger, or Bergger, or Bergger, however you want to call it in English, for me that is Swedish, I would pronounce it Bergger, or Bergger. They're a film manufacturer who is now going to be reintroducing a new black and white film. It's named Panko 400, and it's not so unexpected. It's a 400 ISO film that will be available in both sheet film, 120 roll film, and 35mm film. Later now in February. The X factor with this film, and I'm reading this off the paper because this is a real tongue twister to try to remember. The X factor for this emulsion is that it is a dual layering. It's both a layer of silver bromide and silver iodine layering in the film, film emulsion. And so it's slated to be on sale in Europe in the mid of February. So fairly soon then. But it seems like there's no end to the resurgence in film, and that it's coming back big time. Because also it seems that there is this fabled Italian film company that has been known as the Kodak of Italy, and it's Ferrania. Ferrania, who is now also owned by M3 or 3M or whatever you want to call it, you know, the guys that makes everything from respirators to Scotch tape and so on. But Ferrania is actually now gonna reintroduce a modernized version of a classic movie film. I mean, this is something that if I'm not mistakenly correctly, Ferrania was the type of black and white film that, for instance, Alfred Hitchcock was famous for using. Correct me if I'm wrong, put a comment in the section below. But anyway, the Ferrania P30 Alpha is a black and white film that is going to be in 35mm, and Ferrania is going to make a trial run of this film to see how it plays out. And it's a modernized recreation of a classic film with a high silver content. They actually think that it's 5 grams of silver per square meter. And it's a panchromatic black and white motion picture film, and it's going to be available in 36 exposure 35mm rolls also in mid-February of 2017, so fairly soon then. But anyway, this is going to be concluding the news now, and we'll see how often we're going to do this segment. It all depends on you, the viewer. Do you think this is a good segment to have? And if so, leave a comment in the comment section below. And as always, this is Tobias Bergström for T.B.Photo X1.5 and I would like to see you guys in the next video. And please, as always, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, as you're supposed to say in this YouTube malarkey. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.